It seems like every time John does one of those sketches that he saw in the future in that old house, he starts having these out-of-body experiences. They seem like timeline glitches where he's able to travel or visit a specific point of his timeline. I'm not entirely sure how he's been able to do this. I don't think he knows either. I wonder if these moments that he's been able to go back to or go to are random moments, or is he being sent there deliberately? And if so, who's sending him there? Why is he being sent to those specific moments? What is the point? What is the reason? What are they trying to tell him? What do they want him to do? What is there to be accomplished? But now it seems like Jom is beginning to realize that every time he's doing these sketches of the images that he's seen in the future in that old house, he's beginning to realize that every time he's doing those, he gets sent somewhere else. Now he's beginning to recognize patterns and begins to connect the dots. And now it looks like he remembers that he saw a photo or an image or a sketch of Santa Claus. And then shortly before that, he had just been invited by Yai to a Christmas event. So now he's anticipating that one of those timeline glitches is going to be occurring very soon. So now hopefully he'll be better prepared should one of those time traveling or timeline glitches occur again. He'll be much more calm, and I think he's beginning to realize that he might be able to utilize these timeline glitches in his favor and hopefully get more answers and hopefully get closer to getting back to wherever he thinks he belongs to timeline wise. Although I can't help but wonder if he's eventually able to manipulate which part of the timeline he's going to be able to visit or travel to, or are they already fixed and predetermined, and if so, what is the reason that he's being sent again to these specific moments, and who's doing all of that? And that may not be answered in this series, but it's just something that I'm curious about. You know, eventually that's something that he's gonna be able to do. Don't tell me. But it's fascinating that, again, this is happening to him and why these specific moments he's able to go back to, but he's not really able to do much. At least for now, because everything is so new and shocking that he probably doesn't know what they're trying to tell him when he gets sent to these pockets of the timeline. But hopefully now that he's beginning to recognize the pattern, hopefully he'll be better able to prepare as to how he'll be utilizing this moment, because it seems very limited. Every time he gets sent here, he's only able to stay here for a short period of time. I know this must have been so confusing and super trippy for John, but as an audience, like for me, this is so cool and I want to see more of this. But again, I'm sure John is just tired of all these things. You know, he didn't choose to be here. He still doesn't know how he got here, why he got here, how long he's gonna be here, how he's gonna get back. Will he ever get back, or is this his forever home? John just wants out. He wants to go home. He's very eager to follow these voices and these people that he's seeing during these timeline glitches. Hopefully now that he's much more aware, hopefully he'll be better prepared should he get sent to these timeline glitches again. He'll be able to utilize that very limited time to get some type of answers or clues even as to how he got there and how he can get back. Because I'm sure he'd rather be back to the timeline where he was working as a young architect and really having much more freedom and ownership and control of his life, as opposed to being in this current timeline that he's in, where he's somebody's servant and now being punished for aiding a fellow servant. Although I'm sure he's happy to see Yai in person as opposed to just during his dreams. But I think in a grand scheme of things, he'd rather be home, wherever home for him is. Although I thought it was really interesting that John was beginning to express frustrations over the type of systems that the society was being governed by. He was showing opposition to certain aspects of this community that he currently belongs in. More specifically, the way the servants are being treated or mistreated, for that matter. I mean, it's not surprising that he is opposed to these outdated ways of thinking that a lot of these community members continue to share. I mean, after all, he is coming from, at least this version of him is coming from the future, in which he's more accustomed to a more progressive way of thinking. So that's not surprising there. What kind of surprised me was the way John spoke out and stood up to Yai when he was asking for his help, and he was like, if nobody speaks up, then we're not gonna see some changes. But I'm glad that he was able to express that to Yai though, because in a way I feel like he was able to influence Yai to ask his dad to reconsider the initial punishment that he had set for Auntie Prick. So as a result, Auntie Prick was given a lesser punishment. Unfortunately, because Jom was seen as an accomplice, he too was also given the same punishment that Auntie Prick was given. So it's pretty sad. Again, I'm pretty sure at this moment Jom would rather be home than be treated this way because he was trying to help. But towards the end, both Jom and Yai acknowledge and recognize that they're not going to be able to change people's minds in such a short period of time, especially when you're talking about traditions that have been passed on for many generations. So any type of opposition is viewed, understandably, as challenging the long-standing and deep-rooted social and political norm. It'll get a lot of resistance, especially from the elder members of the community and especially from the leader himself. But for now, both Yai and Jom recognize that regardless of how they feel right now, they don't make the rules, they don't call the shots. Their hands are pretty much tied, but they are hopeful that in time, in the future, they will be part of a bigger movement towards change for the better. But for now, they know that they need to just kind of take a step back and let the leaders lead. But this must be so frustrating for Jom because he is coming from the future, at least this version of Jom. He is coming from the future. He's witnessed certain aspects of society and humanity that have, in a way, changed for the better. So seeing all this, I'm sure, to him seems backward thinking. Another thing that really stood out to me during this episode was the way Phong was dressing and acting differently after she saw that note that Sane sent her. She started making her own outfits and dressing fancier. According to one of the servants, she looked like a slut, but she just seems more out there and even seemingly trying to seduce her husband, and seems to be catering more to his needs. So now he's bringing her out of their room and now telling everybody that they're going to be joining. She's going to be joining their meals from this point on. So I wonder if this transition and change in her demeanor and the way she dresses, I wonder if that has anything to do with the message that she got from San on that note. As to what that is, what that note was about, didn't really go into it, and the first wife just kind of let her have her moment. Like, you can have him, thank you very much. And it looks like next episode we're gonna see a little bit of love triangle between Yai, James, and Jom. So it'll be interesting to see Yai become a little bit more possessive of Jom now that he is sensing that there's competition. Anyway, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thank you so much for being here and thank you for your time. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss my next video. Until then, I will see you later.